Yo, and even take that a step further, right? Like I'm an all inclusive individual, right? So like if I don't allow certain people to say certain things, then I try my best not to use it too. Like I'm not gonna lie to you and be like, yo, I've never said the N word like ever in my life. But I find myself even in locker rooms just hey, hanging out with other black wrestlers, man. Like I'll just you say what you want to say, but I'm not gonna be like, hey, what's up, my like I'm not
Yeah,
I'm not that guy anymore either because I feel like it's definitely coming from that word originates from a place of hatred. I think that now the black community is kind of taken it and owned it, but I also feel like in order to be fair, if you're gonna
yeah,
prevent a certain group of people from saying it, then we probably shouldn't use it either around those people or at all. And then nobody has to worry about anything. Like I feel like that there's no absolute right or wrong when it comes to that word, but it's somewhere in the middle. Like either everybody can say it or nobody says it. Like it's just one of those types of deals, in my opinion.
no, no,
And and
Like
I
I
don't
don't.
like people that say like, "Oh, I get it." It's like, no, you don't get it because I don't get it, and we're the same skin color, so I don't think you're gonna.
I feel like that's a splitting hairs type deal, right? Like I feel like you're right. There's no way that you could possibly understand. Like there,
Yeah,
right? So, but you can feel where I'm coming from, or you
sure.
can understand my frustration because you've witnessed the same things that I've witnessed. So to tell me, hey, I understand where you're coming from, you don't, and you can't,
right.
and that's and there's no guilt behind it. There's no reason for you to feel guilty about that.
Yeah,
There's you can't understand my frustration because through history you've read and learned about slavery, you've read and learned about Jim Crow, and obviously these stories are one-sided, right?
mm-hmm.
And here we are 80 years later, and this is still happening, and
Yeah,
it took 3 days for a public execution for someone to be charged like that was a lynching for
yeah,
all intents and purposes, like you know what I'm saying, and it's bull for you know what I'm
yeah,
saying.
for
and
sure.
and so you can understand my frustration, but
Yeah,
like until someone can understand what it's like to dude, like as a black man in America, like every traffic stop is a potential death sentence. Like, and that's sad. That's sad. I have a
yeah,
newborn in my house, right? Like, and a trip to Walmart to buy Pampers could be the last time that I ever see my family. Like, all because of the way that I look, because I fit the description.
yeah,
Like, only somebody who's been through that kind of stuff can understand. You know what I'm saying? But the frustration could be universal. The the aggravation of it all could be universal. The wish for us to be better as people can be understood by all. So you can understand an aspect,
mm-hmm.
but to say that you understand the situation,
Yeah,
I don't think that that's applicable. I don't think that's an accurate statement.
yeah. And with you, once you realized that like people were looting and all these, all these things were happening.
Not surprised. I
Okay.
wasn't surprised at all. I knew it was only a matter of time. I knew that it was going to happen on a grand scale. Um, I didn't expect it to be. I knew it was going to be the usual suspects in terms of cities, in terms of like predominantly black cities, big cities, things like take over because I'm
Wait,
rambling on. So please go
let
ahead.
me jump in real quick. I feel like that. Well, this is twofold for me. One, I agree with the rioting. I disagree with the looting and stealing, but I agree with the rioting. Here's why: because if if America is going to this see something, say something type belief system, then the next time, again, like you said, hopefully there is no next time. But when this happens, if I destroy the corner store in the neighborhood, if the corner store owner sees some bullshit happening in his neighborhood, he's gonna say something because he's gonna remember, hey, they destroyed my store the last time something like this
Hmm.
happens. It's kind of like in a weird, misguided kind of way. It puts like everyone on the hook for what upholding what's right.
Yep.
Now, if like I mean, like you said, if you're going in to like burn down the Target because your broke ass couldn't afford to do flat screen TV, that's one thing.
Exactly.
But if
Exactly.
but if there's a point, I watched this video earlier, and it was Tupac back in the 90s talking about this. And he was saying, hey, look, we were asking for equality with the Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
We were kind of stating we wanted equality in the 90s, and we spoke with outrage in the form of music, in the form of art, and we exercised our right to peacefully protest all of these years, and none of that shit worked. So now that your city's on fire, now that I'm burning down your stores, I'm affecting your pockets, and I'm hitting you where it hurt, do you see us now? So like, I agree. I agree 100%. I don't think
the looting. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I think the looting is the aspect when I was talking about the people just jumping in to just go in and take advantage of the situation. I think that definitely falls more into the looting. But the destruction, I'm kind of. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm kind of like not as committal to the destruction of personal or private property. And with that, I think I would be safe to just like, you know what, just go ahead, just do whatever. But at the same time, I also
Agreed. I'll go along. I'll jump in with you on that. Yeah, for sure. Minneapolis, yeah, for sure. But like Atlanta,
yeah.
no. Cali, no.
Yeah.
Like
Tampa, there was looting and rioting in Tampa yesterday.
Yeah, like for what?
See,
like at that point,
we
he was
got
taking advantage of the protest at that point.
Yeah,
And I will say this: we're highlighting a very small. I mentioned it earlier about the.
cut you off. I feel like that brings the destruction and the fires, right? So like maybe like who knows what the catalyst was to the actual like destruction of property, right?
Uh-huh.
Like because maybe people just wanted to gather at first. Like I wasn't there, like I don't know. But I know here in Virginia we had a similar protest where they blocked off like highway entrances and exits and stuff like that, and like they kind of just let them do their thing, and then everyone went home, and like there was no fires,
Yep.
knocking on wood here, like all of the buildings are safe for now. So like who knows what that actual catalyst was, because in Minneapolis you have, okay, cop does X, right, crowd responds with Y. And when they come together, who knows what the understanding was? You got tensions running high there. Hey, you just killed this guy. Hey, this guy was doing his job or whatever. And obviously, the thin blue line or whatever the hell they have like on that side versus like, hey, no, power to the people. Like, so who knows what the catalyst was? In Minneapolis, like, hey man, do what you got to do to get your attention until you feel better. But like, everywhere else, we have to do better.
It's got to be a protest. Like that's what I'm saying. I'm
not a proponent of like anarchy, right? Like, but what I was saying was like just so I'm clear, I don't want people looking at a couple Marks podcasts and being like, oh, DeJuan said no. So
they're gonna do it anyway. Clear, so, whatever.
To be clear, what I am saying, absolutely, like I don't wish loss monetarily upon anyone. But I feel like in a weird kind of way, it puts people on the hook because you don't want this to happen again, because you don't want to have to go, even if you don't give a damn about George Floyd, if you don't give a damn about police brutality, you could care less about the whole Black Lives Matter movement. Like you do care about money. And if your business was destroyed and you had to replace it or pay an insurance deductible or something, next time anything like this comes up, you're going to think about this. You're like, hey, you know what? Hey, you know what? So, like, do I agree with the method? No. But at this point,
does it help get the message across? Absolutely, yes. Like I said, I'm with you on that.
But barring the theft, right? Like, barring the theft. Like, I don't support shoplifting of any kind. Like, riot, whatever. But like if your building was destroyed as a result of this, hey, look, at this point, it's collateral damage, and I'm not saying that should be the first course of action, but this is the result. This is what society has led us to at this point, I think. So I kind of understand where those people are coming from as well. The legitimate ones, not the ones.
But we could take 5 seconds.
For sure, man. I to me, I'm actually more disappointed on the police officer side, mainly because with the police being a paramilitary organization and a lot of cops being former military, you're supposed to have a higher level of discipline, which should give you a higher level of patience and the ability to problem solve without resorting to execution of people. Um, One of the major focuses on the military is solving problems. That's literally our job. Like we solve problems at a higher level on a global scale. So if you're gonna be if you're gonna call copy our ranks, copy our marching, our cadence, our philosophies, our principles, and our discipline, and a little bit of our training, you should probably, for example, if it would literally be an international incident if I would have done to an African what that cop in Minnesota did to Mr. Floyd.
Mm.
Right. Like, and not only that, but it wouldn't have taken me 48 hours to be charged. Like I would have been in jail probably the next day. You guys have seen military members, Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, literally charged for war crimes for doing less, for posing like dead bodies of like terrorists. You know what I'm saying? Like for not to take it to that extreme, but like if the military is held to a higher standard, you're a paramilitary organization, you should be held to that standard too. So for me, it's more disappointing that they couldn't come to a more peaceful solution, or they couldn't. I mean, granted, there's some people, civilians, meaning they're just assholes, right? And you have to like be a little rough with them, but this man had his knee in the back of this man's neck for 9 minutes.
Yeah.
That's absurd. And in no way is that acceptable anywhere. So, I mean, not even like I'm trained in hand-to-hand combat, but if I were to be arrested by the military police, they wouldn't put their knee in my back for 9 minutes. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the I think the standard is the minimum amount of force required to compel compliance. Fact check me on that, but I'm pretty sure that I'm correct on that. And that was a hell of a lot more than the minimum amount of force. And so it's more disappointing. But in terms of your question, I deal with everything situationally. I don't believe in like, oh, hey, there's this thin blue line, support all cops. No, everything's situational. Like you're right or you're wrong based off of your actions in that instance and in that moment. So I don't believe that you're innocent until proven guilty, or guilty until proven innocent. Like if you did it in that moment, you're guilty. If you know what I mean?
Somebody isn't good in Washington, they will be known in Florida in 48 hours or in like 1 week of indie rotation or wrestling rotation. You know what I mean? Like, but it goes back to your point where like everybody knows everybody. And nowadays, and how people are policing themselves, and I'm sure it's happening in locker rooms and everything. You guys have spoken about that. It's hard to cover who you really are with the amount of eyes that are on you, the amount of social media platforms you're on. It's hard, especially in the wrestling world, like you said, to be an undercover whatever, womanizer, homophobe, racist, like whatever word you want to insert there. It's hard to be that nowadays because everybody talks and everybody knows everybody.
Well, I think that goes to like, once again, wrestling having the answer. It comes to like more acceptance of everyone. So like it's okay to be gay in the locker room now, like openly.
Yeah.
It's okay to be it's okay to be like the playboy in the locker room now. Like you know what I mean? Like beforehand, everybody was shh, this guy's doing this, but don't tell anybody. But now, like everyone kind of like is they are who they are. So it's kind of like if that guy is a homophobe, right? Dollars to donuts, I know like a gay wrestler who's like had some kind of negative encounter with him, or if that guy is a womanizer, like I probably know 2 or 3 female wrestlers that he's tried to advance on. Like, so it's kind of like, so like I think the people being exposed and people being like themselves or being unable to cover themselves comes with the answer to the whole like racism thing. Like, just allow people to be who they are and treat them like a person first versus what you see them as second. And that that way everyone knows everything about everyone. So then there's no preconceived notions, prejudices, or anything. Wrestling comes to the rescue. We're at a time now, man, where like I don't think you can afford to be racist anymore, because it's like it's like, dude, like back in the day, right? There was territories, right? So you had like 6 like major places, 5 or 6 major places that you could go, right? And if that promoter like blackballed you and you still wanted to still wanted to wrestle, my bad.
I'm sorry. You're good.
and you still wanted to wrestle, dude. Like you had to like uproot your entire family or be away from them for like months at a time. Well, now, dude, like we're in a time where you could throw a rock and hit an indie promotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not saying that they're all good promotions, because
I was gonna say sometimes that's not a good thing.
That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if you're willing to drive like a little bit, man, like Massachusetts, all right, cool. Actually, me too. But I'll keep my.
Well, we'll split it up. Then you go. You tag. All right,
cool.
Tag,
so,
you bring in for the hot tag when you're ready.
All right, cool. So I feel like the people who respond that all lives matter are missing the forest because of all of the trees, right? Like I feel like that they say, or they don't truly understand or get or understand. Like notice that like the majority of the people saying all lives matter are not Black, and I feel comfortable in speaking for all Black people with this one. Like, we're not saying that a white life doesn't matter. We're not saying that a Latin life doesn't matter. We're not saying that an Asian life doesn't matter. What we are saying is that right now, in this moment, Black lives should count too, and there will not be an all lives matter without including Black lives in there. And nobody who comments Black lives matter or all lives matter that nature had to go through in this country what Black people have gone through, from like literally being slaves to 3/5 of a person, and now you're a person, and now it's like we're essentially. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. This weird thing came up on the screen, but like it's like nobody's saying that a white life doesn't matter or anything. We're just trying to be included also. But like we're not gonna say Black lives matter too. Like for what? No, it matters. And no, seriously, like So it's like I'm not no longer like I think Black Lives Matter is the action plan of like the civil rights movement. It's kind of like with Dr. King, we were asking to be tolerated, and with the SCLU and the NAACP, like in the 90s and everything, we were kind of like demanding to be tolerated, and now we're demanding and are willing to kick in your front door to be a part and to be treated equally. So when someone says Black Lives Matter, it's no longer, hey guys, look at us, please help us. No, it's like, hey, we're here, and you're going to recognize it one way or another. That's just so like to circle back to your question. When someone responds to that, I feel like either A, they're ignorant to the facts and they just want to start some shit, or B, they are ignorant to the facts in a sense of you're misunderstanding the statement.
Yeah, it's I think to me, and I always try to put as many life things in sports terminology as I possibly can because it helps me process. But it's almost like, I don't know, this may sound really ignorant, but my bad. It's almost like Black Lives Matter is like people cheering for the Lakers, and All Lives Matter is like, no, the NBA. And it's like, no, we get the NBA, but like, we're looking at our team.
No, that's perfect. That's a perfect analogy.
I'm
gonna be honest. I never thought of it that way. I actually like that one. That's a good. I like that. That is a good one. I appreciate that one.
Oh, okay.
It had to be NBA though, but I'm kidding. But
right.
I get it.
Dude, that is a great analogy, and that's all that's saying. Like as I grew up in Boston. I'm a Celtics fan. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that the Lakers don't matter.
Yeah.
Right. Because the Celtics wouldn't be the Celtics without the Lakers. Right. Like,
Sure.
so everyone, with everyone's history being intertwined, like I'm not saying that your life doesn't matter. I'm just saying that mine matters too.
Yeah.
Out a solution, or being a better person or a better inspiration than to like engage. I'm not gonna lie, like when I first saw All Lives Matter, I would be like, let me pull his DM real quick, slide through. Hey man,
I was there. It was too much energy, man. It was just too much. It was too much.
But
too
dude,
many
like,
of them. Too many of them.
Honestly, it's like it's like here's your sports analogy, Cam. It's like when the NWO first started and it was Hall, Nash, and Hogan, right? And then it was so many freaking people that they had to split the NWO in two, and now the NWO fights against the NWO. Like that's how it is, dude. Like it's so freaking frustrating because at first
such a good analogy.
It is. No, he's right. He's right. I mean, the thing is, where's WCW and all that? WCW's just like what? I thought y'all hated me, but now y'all hate each other. So I'm just keep killing y'all. Then that's pretty much what they do.
Yeah. And
what do you want white people to know about like what this situation is and what it means to you? But because for me, like,
lit up. He goes first.
Well, no,
DeJuan lit up. He'll take it.
Yeah, but this goes back to like my original question of like I started this because I want to know. So for nothing else, this answer is something that I want to hear because I want to be able to know,
For me, it's what I would like white people to take away from like everything that's going on right now is you can have sympathy for what I'm going through, but you can't understand. We're tired. We're angry. We are hurt. We're tired of being targets. I shouldn't have to tell my children to be cautious of how they interact with the police because they might get shot. These are people who take an oath to protect and serve this community, and they only serve justice to Black people. There are countless encounters of mass shooters, people who've killed people, and they're protected with bulletproof vests and police escorts and protection. And I shouldn't have to explain the difference of why this guy gets all the protections and affordments because of the color of his skin versus you might write a bad check and be murdered tomorrow. That's bullshit. It's bullshit on society. It's bullshit that we allow it to happen. It's bullshit that we came to this point, and enough's enough. It's angry. It's angry. It's anger. But not all people want to riot and destroy things. Like some of us want to come to a solution, but the way to not go is to pretend that you understand or don't respond to me with all lives matter. I get that. You're a person just like I'm a person. We're one race and we understand that. It's not anybody's fault, but it's everyone's fault at the same time. So it's a complex time, and I just wish that everyone would deal with everyone on an individual basis. You have to gauge your audience in terms of both social media and in person, and there's no right or wrong answer to this. Like everyone's coping with their emotion the way they're going to cope with it. Like right now, I would just watch. I would just watch. If I were a white guy looking in on this, I would literally just watch, because what you might say could appease me, but offend DMC, or it could appease both of us and offend someone else. And then where does that leave you? And then you're back feeling white guilt all over again. So right now, just watch. If you're gonna post on social media, show me pictures of your dog. Show me pictures of what you're eating. But I would not be like, oh, the cop was just doing his job, or all lives matter, because it's bullshit, and we've had enough. That's just my opinion.